Council, this is Eileen Flores with Southern California Edison.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City team. I'm Eileen Flores, Government Relations Manager with Southern California Edison. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening about the recent public safety power shutoffs, also known as PSPS, which were necessary due to extremely dangerous fire conditions across the region. This recent PSPS event was the largest and most complex since the inception of SCE's PSPS program, driven by widespread extreme winds, highly flammable vegetation, low humidity, and extreme fire risk. We were faced with an extraordinary convergence of extreme weather conditions. We recognize the hardships that customers face when we must shut off power, which is why the decision to shut off power is never taken lightly and only used as a last resort to protect the public, our employees, and the community. This evening, I will talk about the January 2025 Public Safety Power Shutoff events, and PSPS is just one of the many tools we have as part of our wildfire mitigation plan. Let's see if I get this right. Are you guys seeing that?
There we go.
Okay. So on this slide, you'll see a map of SCE service area. It identifies areas that the California Public Utilities Commission and CAL FIRE have designated as high fire risk areas in our service area. You could see that the orange and the red areas are considered as Tier 2 and Tier 3, and those are elevated fire threat areas and extreme fire threat areas. Around 14,000 miles of 51,000 miles of SCE's overhead distribution and transmission lines are above ground, and they travel through high fire risk areas. I have a better map that I can send you. This is a map of the distribution lines in the city of Beaumont. There are 20 distribution circuits that serve the city, and 13 of those are considered as PSPS circuits because they travel through high fire risk areas. This is the map that you can find on the California Public Utilities High Fire Threat District. It's available online, and you can see that Beaumont is designated with the star right above it, and you could see that it is kind of like in the donut hole of high fire risk areas. While we've de-energized customers for safety in the past, SCE officially began using PSPS in 2018 to prevent wildfire ignitions during periods of high winds accompanied by dry vegetation and low humidity. It is one of the many strategies that are part of our wildfire mitigation plan, which is approved by state legislators. While disruptive and often very frustrating for customers, PSPS helps protect our communities by reducing the risk of a catastrophic wildfire. During the January PSPS events, we identified over 70 instances of damage in areas in which we had de-energized for PSPS. Had the lines remained energized, in some cases, the damage could have ignited a fire. And beyond those 70 incidents, the de-energized wires prevented faults that could have caused fires. SCE is committed to improving and looking closely at ways to reduce PSPS usage with increased grid hardening and enhanced monitoring, and to assist customers during the disruption caused by this critical safety tool. We consider PSPS when strong winds, very dry vegetation, and low humidity are forecasted. Under these conditions, a fire could spread rapidly. PSPS reduces the risk that winds could cause flying debris to hit our lines or damage our equipment and cause a fire. Our meteorologists review weather conditions daily using both internal and external models. They track periods of high winds and low humidity. Our fire scientists calculate the dryness of local plants and grass using both modeling and biweekly sampling across our service area. We consider PSPS when there is a high risk of our equipment being the source of an ignition. SCE uses approximately 1,700 pole-top weather stations for real-time monitoring on or adjacent to the circuits in scope for the event. And SCE crews patrol circuits before and during PSPS events to provide additional information regarding actual weather conditions. In advance of any PSPS event, SCE has plans in place to reduce the number of customers affected and by potentially switching some customers to neighboring circuits. This is our ideal timeline for notifications. When strong winds are in the forecast, we'll start planning for a PSPS about 4 to 7 days in advance. Starting 3 days in advance of a potential PSPS event, SCE issues notifications to public safety partners, local, county, and state government officials, emergency management agencies, fire authorities, and critical infrastructure customers to assist in their planning and preparation for potential PSPS. And then starting 2 days in advance of the event, we notify customers. After a PSPS event, every de-energized line must be physically inspected to make sure it is safe and free of hazards. Restoration times are typically up to 8 hours once a circuit is cleared for inspection. There could be delays if the conditions are dangerous or if damage is found, then we must conduct repairs. Remote circuits where we need helicopter or foot patrols can only be safely inspected in daylight, which may lead to additional delays. All of the measures used to evaluate the risk of fire danger were very high in January. We had dry conditions from October 2024 through January 2025, and it was one of the driest periods in Southern California going back to 1895, leaving much of the vegetation extremely dry and receptive to fire. In addition, humidity was quite low. We also had very high wind speeds. We had wind gusts in the region that were between 70 and 80 miles per hour, with isolated gusts near 100 miles per hour during the peak of the event. And then also the fire size potential was estimated to be in the 5 to 10,000 acre range for this event, with some areas exceeding 10,000 acre potential and as high as 40,000 acres. These are just some of the numbers from the January PSPS event. We know the extended power outages from the major windstorms and wildfires were hardships. Many SCE customers across Southern California were without power for days, which led to increased frustration. For the January event, there were over 600 circuits in scope and 350 were de-energized. We notified over 700,000 customers that they may experience a PSPS, and approximately more than 365,000 customers throughout 8 counties experienced a shutoff. For customers who were de-energized in January, we're sorry that the PSPS experience was made even more difficult when our communication tools did not function as they should. When our communication tools do function as designed, they are very informative. We are constantly looking for ways to improve our wildfire mitigation plans, including how we implement public safety power shutoffs. In the near term, we continue to add coated wire, also known as covered conductor, and hardening the grid with fast-acting fuses and advanced technology. While these strategies will not eliminate the potential for PSPS de-energizations, these steps will help reduce the scope of PSPS events. And then the last slide provides some of the resources and information for the community. And what I'd really like to point out is that we do have a medical baseline program so that customers who do rely on medical equipment that uses power, it's very important that they sign up for those for medical baseline, so they have that added level of communication so that we can notify them. And so what we do is we will contact them either by phone or text, and if we don't get a positive response from them, we actually will have someone from our field crews go out to their home to make sure that they receive the notification so that they're aware of the outage. And we also partner with 211 through the United Way to make sure that those with additional needs have those resources. So we want to make sure they're connected before an emergency. And then also, we want to make sure that customers have their information updated with customer service, because for some folks, they change their phone numbers, have a new email address, and so the notifications are not getting to them. And I know one of the concerns that we get is sometimes we send out too many notifications, so we are working on that also. But I do want to thank you for this opportunity tonight to speak to you about PSPS outages. And I'm hoping, SCE is hoping this is just one of the first conversations or one of the first opportunities we have to discuss PSPS more. And we value your feedback, both positive and negative, and especially welcome your suggestions on what we could do, what would be most helpful during these PSPS deactivations. So thank you.